Hello everyone, it's Christian back here, and as promised, I am making more videos, as in like I made a video yesterday, this is a video today, and this is going to be another question I get a lot, and that is, how do I acclimate my palm to the sun? And that's a good question. It's something that you may buy a plant at a big box store or even at a nursery, and it's under shade cloth. And you may want to plant it in full sun, but you're afraid you're going to burn it. Now, unfortunately, that's a process that you have to go through. Now, let me get over here so that you can kind of get a better sun. The sun is pretty good for this picture right here. So here we have two not specimens, but oversized 3 gallons of Dipsas pembana, which is the Pemba island palm. It's actually unique in that it is the only species of Dipsas out of over 200 species that is not native to Madagascar. Not by far, maybe about 60 miles, but still, it's not native to Madagascar. It's native to the island off the coast of Tanzania, and that's not, it's an interesting fact. It's not what I'm not discussing the palm per se, but how this palm acclimates to the sun. So, this palm is very typical of a clumping pinnate palm that's crown shafted, in that when it's initially grown, it's grown in a lot of shade, because when it's young, it's going to be in a forest. It's not going to get full sun. So as they grow, as nurseries grow these up into to say 3 gallons, which is what that pot is there, even though every part of that is pretty much rooted out. They're in shade, and as a result, you get these leaflets that are a little bit further spaced apart. The margins here are about 2 inches. So this is a shade-grown leaf, and it is about 4.5 feet long, I'd say. So, if you want to acclimate, which I'm doing right now, you basically take the palm and you put it in full sun. Now, important things to do is to make sure that it is given an extra amount of water, because it will start to dry out. It'll dehydrate. It's going to go at a little bit of shock, kind of like a transplant shock, but you're actually putting in full sun. So here, this is a new spear here, which has not opened, but this is a fully grown leaf in the sun. Now the margins on this are going to be about an inch. They get a little bit closer towards the top, which towards the top there, they're about 2 inches, and here they're about an inch. So the leaf has compacted by about, as far as the margins are concerned, by about 1/2. And you notice that this leaf actually has pretty much no burn on it. And there's a little bit right here, but that just tends to happen, and plants can't be perfect. They're not, they are art, but they're not perfect. They're not made by human beings. It's Mother Nature. So, but as a result, you're going to get a more compact plant. So this plant will actually kind of shorten up from, say, 4.5 feet, or maybe it has like an 8-foot spread, to about a 5 to 6 foot spread. And down here, there's little clumps which are pretty typical of Pembana. And the leaves are actually burning on that, but then a couple of the new leaves are doing pretty good in full sun. And some plants will be like this, where they will need an acclimation. Some plants that grow in full sun, they just don't burn at all, and we get lucky with that. Also, whoops. Okay, hopefully that won't affect the video there. But there's let's see. There's also another thing I wanted to touch on is these are seeds that I have germinated in regular pots over the fall and the winter, and I have put these out in full sun. Now these never see shade, because these are desert loving. These are from the desert in the Sudan. They're called Medemia argun, and they basically grow in pure sand or rock near oases in the Upper Nile river basin. So if you pull one of these out, you can see how deep that pot is. They're about, I want to say they're 13 inches deep. So that root is going to that seed is going to set down a sinker root, probably, as far as that pot goes down, it's going to send a leaf back up. It takes a while. They're not the fastest growing plants, but I have about 30 or 40 here. And it can take 3 months from the time you plant that for the first leaf to come up. So drainage, also very important when you are growing palms, to make sure that you give a palm the drainage that it will need during its pot life, as opposed to say its in-ground life. Because when it's in the ground, you can't really control the drainage. You can amend it, but you can only amend it so much. At some point, it has to take into the natural soil that you have. So unless you want to amend your entire yard, which I've never heard of anyone doing, that's kind of what you have to do, is you have to just kind of like ease it along. So we'll walk over here a little bit, and again, excuse me for the mess and the weeds. It's just I'm trying to make sure that this becomes all palms and mulch and not grass and dirt. So this palm here is another example of shade versus sun and grown. Now, this is an old leaflet here, but this leaf here is shade grown. These here, this one and that one opening there, are sun grown. You can notice the leaflet is not nearly as long. I'm sorry, the petiole is not nearly as long, and the leaflet's a little more compact. They kind of hold together. So that is really where you see that sun acclimation, and it requires, this plant requires no drainage. It likes to have soppy, wet soil. So I let it sit down and kind of naturally just grow in this. This area becomes very seasonally wet and flooded. It actually, the water can come up to the sidewalk in the summer. So it grows in the Amazon River Basin. When that floods, it gets flooded as well. I don't know if I mentioned the species. It's Mauritia flexuosa, and yeah, it's that is that palm acclimating. So hopefully that will do well here. It's kind of an experiment, so I'm not putting, you know, if this palm were not to make it, I will understand, because it is not growing in Amazonian climate conditions. So I guess for now, that's probably what I wanted to note. I guess, one other good example of acclimation, and this is a rescue, and this palm you may have seen in a previous video, but this is a royal species that's from Venezuela, and you can see the leaflets are, well, that's 7 feet tall right there, and this one here is only about 3.5. This is the first leaf after this leaf. So when this was grown in sun, this was grown in shade. Now, neither one looks really that great right now, but we had some pretty heavy winds here just a week or two ago. And we see the new spear coming out, which is a good sign, saying, okay, well, we're acclimating in the ground, we're doing okay, and this palm will start to look much better in the coming months, I guess you could say. So anyway, hopefully this grass will all become a place to plant palms in the future. But for now, grass is just, my view on grass is that it's just more place to plant palms. So I will leave you guys with that, and I will do, my next video will be germinating in bins and show you how to get optimal germination and for speed and numbers. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, send me a comment. You can send me an email message. Feel free to get in touch with me, and thank you for watching, and have a good weekend.